Hello and welcome to another jungle tutorial. My name is Virkayu, and in this slightly different style and maybe slightly shorter tutorial, I want to talk about your early jungle clears and why they matter more than you think. Because I guarantee you, not all of you are doing some of these things, and it can mean the difference between first blood and embarrassment. We're going to look at what we need to do in order to have an effective and high HP clear while maintaining our speed, and then why this is all important no matter your rank. If you haven't noticed, snowballing is a bit stronger in the preseason and in Season 8, and it's also worth noting the reduction of the catch-up XP has made it so that you cannot afford to be as far behind in Season 7 and still expect to come back freely. This is why it is so imperative, no matter who you are playing, that you have a strong and solid first clear. We're going to look at a few steps or factors that you should be doing each and every camp you do, and then look at some implications of good and bad clear technique. Oftentimes, a champion's fate and whether or not it was viable in the jungle was based on their first clear and their effect on the map immediately after this. A lot of people would complain that their runes and masteries sucked and that's why their clear was bad. No, this is just because they were being lazy and inefficient with how they cleared the first few camps, and I'm here to help solve that problem for you. First and foremost, whatever champ you are playing, it doesn't matter. If you're playing in a ranked game, you need to understand what spells to start to ensure that it's the most optimally chosen for a high HP clear while going as fast as possible. Efficiency. If you're super fast but you're low and have to go back after 3 camps, what good was the speed? I'm assuming that you understand the relative limits of your champion and that you have at least a somewhat ideal rune page setup. The second step is to determine who the enemy jungler is, what kind of cheese they plan on throwing at you, and how this relates to your ideal start. Part of this is understanding if you're going to get a leash and whether it's topside or botside. Step 3 is the idea of tanking and kiting your camp and is absolutely core to the point of this tutorial. Firstly, a tanky support should be able to tank a few hits for you if they know what they're doing. And the rest of that is completely on you to effectively kite and tank where appropriate. So let's start by looking at Kayn. Kayn can't sit there and tank the buff. He's puny. And you don't have the option of supreme attack speed runes to help navigate your laziness. So now you need to make sure you're moving around the camp and weaving in autos with your spells. Usually with Kayn, you will try to do an auto attack, Q, auto attack, and then kite back until your Q is off CD again. You can of course throw in a few more autos in between there as you should, but the point of kiting is that you don't needlessly get punched in the face by the buff, and to give yourself the highest HP you can moving on to the second camp. On the second camp, Raptors in this case, as I'm sure you've seen from my videos as well as from streamers, you get both procs of Q initially on the camp and then you kite it around until you have Q up again, which will kill the baby birds, and then you can kill the parents because you're a monster. But you're close to full HP, and it's worth it because now you can move on to the second buff. This is now where people will freak out because maybe you had to use your smite from a bad leash and you don't have it for the blue. Guess what? Doesn't matter. Make sure you're kiting, using your auto attack, Q auto attack combo, and moving in a slow and smart way that doesn't have the camp reset. You can then level up your E and look to take the scuttle crab by going through a wall, and that'll give you some HP back. Different champs will have different needs in that first buff. Even Ornn can't face tank a camp blindly doing nothing. Look at these side by side examples. On one, I'm kiting with auto attacks and moving in and out with my W. I'm making sure to get in and auto attack before I W, then I'm auto attack again to activate Brittle. Raptors are of course easier for Ornn once your Q's up. You can kite them into the bush, auto attack as many as you can to hard stun them, and then repeat with your W to kill them off. You can easily start without a leash and still end up near max HP at the end of it. Now, I didn't even use pots in this example. If you're chugging your pots, which you should be doing while you're in the camp, you'll come at full HP, ready to skirmish. I used an example in my own tutorial about how that could change the tone of the game. However, for ranged, squishy champions like Kindred, you really want to reduce the amount of attacks you take from the camp as much as possible, using your enhanced range from your auto attacks as well as your spells to kite as much as you can. Using your Q and W correctly to maximize the amount of times you can jump away from the camps to kite means Kindred's clear should be always relatively healthy. Graves also has a free built-in kite mechanic with his autos that knock camps away, and you should be kiting while you reload, not taking any free punches from the buffs. Using your spell cooldowns as well as autos is important because of how regeneration and lifesteal work on the jungle items as well, so making sure you choose the right item for your champion is also crucial. Evelynn is another prime case of kiting without tanking and working in and out of her spells. You don't want to auto attack that much, you want to kite and use your Q as much as possible. Look at these two side examples again. On the right I'm playing Evelynn and I take W second because I understand how it helps my clear better than E. Maybe I also watched my own Evelynn guide. And I kite the camps as best I can to maintain high HP in preparation for that final camp and then contesting scuttle and looking to gank. The example on the left is an example of poor camp management. I tank the camp because I'm not a bad support, and I wander off to bot lane. I'm Ornn. Evelynn sadly does not kite the camps, face tanks them, takes the more inefficient ability in terms of burst and mana management with her E, and it's important to note that our top laner dies 1v1 early while she's doing Raptors. So having a presence top lane to gank for her or to counter gank the enemy Lee Sin is absolutely vital to this game. But because of a weak early clear, she can't do this. Lee Sin roams into a jungle, and because of zero defensive wards or proactive jungle control, she's forced to burn a flash over the wall and loses the Gromp. Guess what? Lee Sin moves to tower dive top, and that lane should be pretty much over now. Imagine if the clear was fast and healthy, and Evelynn was able to punish the Pantheon for pushing with no TP up while the Lee Sin was looking to counter jungle. The importance of that pathing and clear efficiency set the tone for our entire game. That was a long step, but step 4 will transition us into why this is so important in addition to the examples we just looked at. The next step is that you should be kiting the camp in the direction you're going to head next. Unless you have to bush hug to be wary of invades, of course that is something you might have to do if you want to maximize vision, but let's just focus on the former. If you're going to do Raptors from red, kite it so that it dies and you can smoothly move on to the next camp. You should see an example of Maokai failing to efficiently kite the wolves towards his red buff after starting blue. I usually do, but I get lazy as well sometimes, and this is why I'm also making this. You have to be self-aware of these little things. They can really make the difference in the long run. Anyway, I do effectively leash my own red buff with the intention of going to gank top lane. Kiting your camp to the direction you're going after is vital when you're clearing a camp and moving to gank, or potentially intercept an enemy. Moving the camp to the location you will be moving next just speeds up everything you do while restricting the amount of damage you take. Everything about this is positive and means you'll be one step ahead of the junglers who don't do this, and also reveals that you're thinking about the game rather than just existing in that moment. You have a plan and an awareness of your surroundings. Signs of a good jungler. I easily moved up here with the ideal pathing, and Darius and I are able to punish the Cassiopeia. Cass is a great 2v1 champ and can kite us quite well, so it was imperative I had as much HP as possible in case of possible flash follow-ups or counter ganks. So a summary of the implications. A healthy initial jungle clear with acceptable speed allows you to gain scuttle crab control, be the first to gank, be in prime position to counter gank an enemy jungler who has a faster clear than you, or to just simply contest a scuttle crab and perhaps pick up a first blood with your team collapsing. These are all things that should be in the front of your mind as you complete that second buff. You don't want to be roaming into a potential fight with low HP, you don't want to face check bushes against a Rengar who could be waiting for you because you took your time and you're very low health. Giving up double buffs to an enemy laner is bad in all instances, and especially if it happens because you decided you could gank with 200 HP. In this aggressive, fast-paced pre-season and Season 8, make sure you're the one getting ahead of the enemy jungler and setting the tone for the game, and this happens with an intelligent and aware first clear. As a final note, if you are slower but healthier and you see the enemy jungler ganking, counter jungling is your best bet if you can't move to intercept or if your lane is already long gone. Denying them something and getting vision in their jungle is the best you can hope for in a situation like that. Knowing their location is prime information, and if you're low HP from a bad clear, you aren't going to be able to steal a raptor camp quickly enough without huge risk of the enemy collapsing on you. Be wary of invaders, be wary of the enemy's jungle start. I have numerous videos in here with regards to dealing with that early game, so have a look at any of the suggested videos if that does interest you. Thank you for watching. I hope these small tips can add something to your gameplay and help give you a smoother early game. Please clear that like button if you enjoyed this video. It really does help having as many likes as possible on the videos. Check out some of the other tutorials if you're interested. Please subscribe for more jungle tutorials coming soon. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next tutorial.